So who are you talking about? Who's the main quitter? Who's the one that keeps popping up?
CM Punk. Mm, 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 mm. Last week it was kind of, sort of unofficially, kind of officially announced that Punk was going to return to AEW for their new show Collision, which is debuting on June 17th. That was the talk last week. Then next thing you know, we find CM Punk behind the scenes at Monday Night Raw.
Subscribe.
Mm. Mm. There is a lot to unpack with that. There really is. So there are a couple of stories, and trying to decipher fact from, possible fiction is a little bit tough, but we could get into all the stuff that's been reported out there and whether or not we think it's true or BS. But so the rumor is I believe this part is actually confirmed that CM Punk was down in Tampa to do commentary for the MMA promotion that he's done commentary for a couple times. And on his way from Tampa back home to Chicago, there were several WWE performers on the same flight. They ended up getting to talking, and we don't know who, but apparently who inviting him to Monday Night Raw, and he actually showed up. And then from there is where it really kind of gets tricky to find out what is true and what is kind of make-believe. We know that he was in some sort of common area, and he talked with some people, allegedly talked with The Miz and trying to kind of patch things up with Miz because, clearly Punk has had an issue with Miz being in the main event of WrestleMania 27 and has had other issues with The Miz for a while. And we have that sounds like, I would say for me that feels pretty firm. What's your feeling on that?
I think it's a good sign because honestly, there has been a lot of grief between the two of them. And they've been going back and forth because, obviously, like you said, CM Punk feels a certain type of way about he feels a certain kind of way about The Miz. I'm sorry, but
sure,
I think that's probably of all the things that seems like it's the most believable of all the things. Because why would somebody make up something like that?
Sure.
I don't understand that. The rest of it gets a little, hazy. Like, do we really think that he was there trying to pander for a job?
My belief is definitely not. Like, I don't think he was necessarily pandering for a job, but maybe all this stuff with AEW, maybe the stuff with the Elite has made him see some sort of light of like, you know what? Maybe all this anger and bitterness that I've carried around all this time, maybe it's time to grow the hell up and actually make peace with people. Because you know what? Life's too damn short to do that stuff. By the way, I just want to say, Monsef, dude, it's been a while. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you and hope all is well with you. That being said, there are rumors out there that say that, he saw Triple H, who clearly they had a lot of heat and issues. And allegedly, they shook hands. Allegedly, Punk said he wanted to have a couple of minutes of private conversation with Triple H. Allegedly, Triple H said, I need to talk to the big man. And what are your beliefs on that part of it?
I definitely could see Triple H having to say, yeah, I got to talk to Vince. But with that, it makes me feel like there's some kind of cahoots or some kind of chicanery going on. Because Triple H isn't just going to go to Vince for that. He's got to. I mean, if somebody just wants to have a couple-minute conversation, it shouldn't be like, yeah, let me go just make sure I run it by Vince first, or I make sure I run it by my boss or your boss or whoever's boss. That's the part that really, like, I don't know how I feel about that. Do I believe that Vince McMahon told security to tell Punk to get the hell out? Yes. I don't know if that's, I mean, it would make sense if Triple H was the one that told Vince that he was there. But Vince could have just heard that through the grapevine. I mean, hell, there was video of CM Punk outside in the parking lot talking to Tamina Snuka. So,
yep.
I don't know. This whole thing with WWE and AEW has just gotten so muddled. Like, everybody's making a big deal about the fact that it's CM Punk that came out on Monday. Ricky Starks was there at the Royal Rumble. Andrade, I'm pretty sure, was at the Hall of Fame. So was Buddy Murphy. They showed Buddy Murphy during the Hall of Fame.
Right.
When Adam Cole, baby, was in NXT and he had that takeover and they showed Britt Baker, his concerned girlfriend, sitting at ringside.
Right.
Why is it now? Is it because it's CM Punk? Is it because all this shit that's going on? We can't, we look a other way when Ricky Starks is showing up to support his friend, Cody Rhodes at the Royal Rumble when he wins it.
Yeah.
Nobody bats an eye at that. Oh, it's just Ricky Starks. But why is it now that because of CM Punk? Is it because of the fact that this whole thing with the Elite that is a good looking can, by the way.
Gags the Clown was asking me what I was drinking, so I was trying to show and let you do your thing.
No, I saw the can. I was like, that's a really cool look. There's certain beer cans out there that I just love. They have such great looking cans, and they're like, yeah, that's the shit that's going to drive me to come back and start drinking again, But I just don't understand, why is this such a big deal now because it's CM Punk?
I think there are a few things at play here. And Chris Brown alluded to one of them. So there have been lawsuits between the two companies about tampering. And CM Punk showing up at Raw, first time in over 9 years, showing up for anything WWE related. There was, rumors and innuendos when Tony Khan was thinking about buying out CM Punk's contract that maybe Punk was angling possibly for a WWE return, even though it seems like much of the higher ups in the company are kind of like about bringing Punk back. So you get a guy who you may or may not believe wants to go back to WWE. You've already had issues as far as possible tampering going on.
Right.
And the optics of it from the WWE perspective certainly would be bad.
Right.
If CM Punk specifically ended up back in WWE at some point, Tony Khan would have quite a case if Vince did anything but say, get him out of there. And I'm sure a little bit of that, if Vince said get him out of there, which I actually do believe happened, had to do with, one, how Punk left, two, he's with a rival company, and I think those are the two main driving forces there.
Oh, I think it's definitely number two, especially with the fact that they have the whole tampering situation. It's definitely the second thing.
I think there's a little bit of Vince I know Vince usually like, hey, if it's good for business, I'll bring somebody back. But there were some exceptions over the years.
It's just, especially with all the lawsuits that this man is facing. Because I was listening to Cornette this morning, and
Yeah.
he even said that there's more of these lawsuits that he's still fighting. The only one that they settled was with the former referee. Because they were just talking about, and we're going to get into this in a minute, the new lawsuit that WWE is facing from a former employee. But it's like, I could see it, because it's like Vince does not need another lawsuit. He's already fighting the ones he's got. He's already fighting this new one that they just had brought upon them. They just did this merger with,
The
frig.
thing is, with Endeavor, the merger will not be finished for quite a while. They have to go through a big process of getting approval and making sure the federal government's okay with it, making sure that like Wall Street's okay with it. There's a lot of stuff that has to go into that. They will not officially be fused with Endeavor for probably, about 6 months.
Right.
I mean, they're in the process because, in my business, I've definitely been a part of a few mergers where, I mean, it'll take 6 months to a year because, like, trying to take, let's say, the healthcare from one company and bringing it into the other company when the other company doesn't have the same exact healthcare,
Yep.
or they don't have the same exact 401k, and you have to, like, at least for a while, like, okay, you're going to stay with what you have right now, but come this date, there's going to be a change. So there are things like that to consider. There are a lot of little things like that. The owners of companies and people merging things like would understand and just be like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So the merger itself, there's a lot going on with that. If something like this, let's say there was a tampering accusation because of specifically CM Punk here that ended up possibly, because this could be some, hey, if there are so many lawsuits, Endeavor may go like, you know what, we want out of this damn deal. And then, I mean, it's not like Vince is going to be a poorhouse. I mean, WWE's still raking in money.
If Endeavor doesn't buy them, somebody else will.
So there are things like that where it's like, hey, Vince made this deal. He wants this deal to go through, and anything he could do to avoid bad press or anything that comes along with having things like this happen, he's going to avoid. And my belief is, I'm guessing Punk really did see Triple H, maybe even asked to talk with him for a couple minutes. But again, when you have a person high ranking in the company who is the head of talent relations talking with a high profile person from another company, it doesn't look good. So if Vince made that call, I understand why he made the call.
Agreed.
And from what it sounds like when Punk was asked to leave, apparently he was very civil and said, more or less it sounded like he understood. But I hope the dude who seems to like to put nitroglycerin into every place he leaves and tries to blow things up, I hope he's grown up to the point where he's like, I do need to make amends. Even if I don't like this person, was it really that bad? Was it really that bad? I'm going to carry this with me.
Hey, I got a theory, and it's not this guy, Austin Theory sucks. He was there for one reason, Jay. He went to rattle the cage. CM Punk is on the verge of returning. He could be returning, I guess, next month. I guess he's going to be medically cleared anyway. But they're probably going to save it for the new AEW show Collision that debuts June 17th, which is the first Saturday night that they don't have either NBA or NHL playoffs in Chicago.
Playoffs?
And he's going to be the focal point of this show. The WB made it a point. They said that if we're going to put all this money in, this is a $52 million deal that they have going in. And they said, we want CM Punk to be the star of this show. Was I surprised when I saw that he was at Raw on Monday? No, not really. Okay, maybe I was a little surprised. I wasn't stunned. He knows what he is worth. He's got AEW by the balls. Because Tony Khan's afraid to not only fire him, not only to reprimand everybody involved in the whole thing that happened, other than my cousin Ace Steel.
Yes.
But the fact is that he wants to just kind of pussyfoot his way around this whole thing. Nobody wants to talk about it. Every time that gets talked about, it gets kind of shot down. But other people on one side of the story can go out and make all these little jabs and everything. Like, we had to find, right. Like, he's going and having these secret meetings with Chris Jericho to see if they can hash it out, too. Come on. You're telling me that Phil Brooks, Pepsi Phil, CM Punk, actually went to Raw and tried to make amends with all these people not too long after having a sit-down conversation with Chris Jericho, who is literally the one person in the AEW locker room who threw him completely under the bus and said he is a cancer and you can't work with him. So you're telling me that CM Punk is going to make amends with all these people when there's nothing being discussed about what happened at All Out at the media scrum? Nothing. There was really no punishment. Why did my cousin have to be the one that gets punished and everybody else has to? This is totally against the Guy family, but we won't discuss that.
Very sad.
It is a very, very sad day for the Brainless One and his family. But my whole thing is that he's doing it as a publicity stunt. He knows what he's doing. You may not like the guy, whoever you are out there, but you got to admit I know you're not a fan.
I admire his talent, and I know that he knows how to get attention.
He is one of the smartest people in the industry, and he knows how to work it.
One thing that, completely proves this is when CM Punk, at like 2011 Money in the Bank, he had not signed his WWE contract extension. He knew he was the hottest thing in pro wrestling at that moment, and he had not signed the contract before that match with John Cena, or I should say, he signed the contract, I think, just before the match with John Cena, and allegedly Vince McMahon said, well, feels like you kind of got me over a barrel here. When you have a dude like Vince McMahon who's negotiated a ton of stuff with a ton of people for the past, at this point, 40 plus years, and you have him, you know that the dude understands how to do business.
This is a man who got Jimmy Snuka Fly Snuka off of Murder. Superfly Snuka got off of Murder because Vince McMahon did what he was able to do, and CM Punk outsmarted him. It's because he was listening to John Laryngitis instead of Jerry McDivitt, and that has been his biggest issue. The only person Vince McMahon should be listening to is Jerry McDivitt, not Brother Love, not People Power, and most importantly, not Bucky Beaver.